Herzlich willkommen zum Future Talk zum heutigen mit der Fotografin Linda Troeller, einer amerikanischen Fotografin. Sie ist im Moment gerade in Florida, aber ich bin sehr glücklich, dass wir heute die Zeit gefunden haben, dass wir gemeinsam dieses Gespräch führen und ein bisschen in ihre fotografische Kunst eintauchen können. Wir haben im Rahmen der Future Talks ja schon öfter das Thema Flusser, Medien, Bild und was ist ein Bild überhaupt gehabt. Und in der Linie ist auch der heutige Future Talk. Und äh, ich freue mich auch, dass du, Ralf, da bist, der ja dann den nächsten Future Talk am 23. Februar halten wird zum Thema der inneren und äußeren Bildern durch die psychedelischen Lichtreisen. Und da werden wir auch nochmal eintauchen in das, was ist überhaupt ein Bild. Und heute wird der Fokus auf der fotografischen Kunst von Linda sein. Wir werden ja dann im Anschluss an Ihren Talk und unser Gespräch, werden wir ja Ihren Film Healing Waters anschauen. Das ist ein 80-minütiger Film, der über ihr Leben geht. Deswegen muss ich nicht allzu viel sozusagen in der Einführung sagen. Wir werden sie dann im Rahmen dieser Dokumentation auch kennenlernen. Der Film ist 2023 ganz neu rausgekommen, läuft auch auf einigen Filmfestivals und beschreibt eigentlich ihren Lebensweg. Und allein der Titel Healing Waters zeigt schon einer der Kernpunkte von Lindas fotografischer Arbeit, nämlich die Arbeit mit Wasser und Mensch, und zwar im Hinblick auf die heilende Dimension des Wassers. Das ist sozusagen einer der großen Sujets und Themen von Lindas Arbeit. Sie hat auch gerade in ihrer Zeit, wo sie in New York gelebt hat, 20 Jahre, eine Fotoserie zu Living in the Chelsea Hotel gemacht. Darüber ist sie auch berühmt gewesen mit einigen auch prominenten Menschen wie Bob Dylan. Kann ich ein Bild sehen von dir, wo du fotografiert hast. Sie war auch gleichzeitig eine der Pionierinnen der Selfie, des fotokünstlerischen Selfies, schon in den 70er und 80er Jahren. Also, und eben, was sich eben so durchzieht, vielleicht noch ein anderes Thema, the Erotic Life of Women, also die Erotik der Frau aus der Frauenperspektive. Aber heute wollen wir den Fokus setzen auf ihre Arbeiten zum Thema der Healing Waters. Und ja, ich habe zu zwei Filmsequenzen, die Linda fotografiert hat, habe ich auch kurze Filme gemacht, die werden wir dann im Anschluss von unserem Talk dann auch hören. Aber das wird mal so ein bisschen der Ausblick für den heutigen Abend sein. Ähm, ja, so vielleicht noch, Linda hat mehrere Bücher auch veröffentlicht. Ich habe auf der Future Talk Seite habe ich auch ihre Bio verlinkt. Sie hat auch eine Gastprofessur gehabt, hat in Syracuse auch ihren Master im Bereich Fotografie gemacht, mehrere internationale Ausstellungen in der ganzen Welt, auch mehrere in Deutschland, in Apolda zum Beispiel, wo ich auch mit dabei war, auch im Hygienemuseum in Dresden, mehrere private Sammler, dann auch einige Museen, die einige ihrer Werke haben. Und ja, so the topic of this talk today, Linda, is the art of taking a picture. Also, I like the English expression, the art of taking a picture, because it's not just only photographing, but the creative act of, in a way, taking a screenshot of a reality. And yeah, so what is, Linda, your approach to the art of taking a picture? So you are invited to give us our talk. Yes, please, Linda.
Okay, well, greetings. I'm happy to be here. I was in Munich for my time abroad in college. So this is very exciting, and I've been back to Germany many times. So I'm going to talk about the art of taking a picture. So I already had to adjust to quite a lot of different futures in photography. I started black and white, and that's all there was in my college darkroom. I was an assistant to Ansel Adams at the workshops, and there I also had only access to black and white. On the technical side, color photography was the future, and traditional black and white was in the past. But I still worked a number of years in black and white. At first, I held a handheld light meter, and I used a double stroke like a camera. I had manual exposure, and then I moved to auto exposure, then chemical printing, and finally inkjet from a computer. So, for example, if this is contemporary communication, this is a photograph taken in 1992 at the Gellert bathhouse with my color film. And you can see it's very beautiful. And it has, I'm able to reveal some aspects of movement in the picture. And then I was invited back to talk in 2013. Over this period of time, I moved to a digital camera. We're happy that the digital camera can catch a lot of things, but it also leaves a lot of the mystery out. So those are one of the things that you have to cope with. But guess what? I also used other cameras. This is the 20x24 camera in a studio Polaroid in New York City. And I did my TBA's diary, one of my earliest works, on the 20x24, making photo collages. This is a picture of me holding my most important picture at that time by Tim Mantinoni with the 20x24 camera. And then I moved on to the SX70 camera. There's some new replicas of it, but it was really quite important in the 80s. But guess what? In photography, it's not only the picture that you take, it's also how you present the picture. And what size it's going to be, what kind of emotions they're going to have. And that's why color was so important to me, because it definitely has sensuality. It gives these kinds of tones. And so when I moved from black and white to color, it was because of following the waters. The hot springs and spas absolutely needed me to be aesthetically powerful with color. And so I was very proud to get the book deal with the Aperture magazine, or Aperture Foundation, and also that this picture would be chosen for the catalog for all their books. That was a great breakthrough for me. I'm going to show you how I developed this kind of photography. This is a picture of the Dead Sea, and it's a wonderful time now to focus on the beauty of this part of the world. We're looking over at Syria here, but we're looking at an amazing color. And that is one of the foremost things of the aesthetic of picture taking, in color. And here, also, this picture was well collected by German people. Now, the second image I'm going to show is a self-portrait. This is in a little seaweed grotto on the border of Italy and France. And here I began to develop the use of movement in my pictures. Again, lots of color and a sense of movement. And going forward in this idea, this is in Calistoga Hot Springs, and the woman has a tattoo of the goddess of water. How could I resist that? But here you have the foreground in focus, the background out of focus, or a sense of movement. So I was developing this style. Eventually I got to Montegatini, and normally this would be an architecture picture, but that's not what I do. That's not what I was focusing on. So I brought a sheet, and I had a person run around the beautiful Ephesus edifice. It's just so amazing. So this is how I got a sense of movement in the picture. And here is one of my most used editorial pictures, this also captured people. The mud is such a beautiful color, and that there's some movement, there's some beauty. It seems so natural. So that also followed this line of thinking. But I wanted to say, once you get a subject that you love, don't give it up, because, quote, the project is over. So I've continued following the waters my whole life since I started it. This is Bad Gastein. This is the famous waterfall there. Now it would be a landscape picture, but in order to carry forward my ideas, I put one of the healers of the village with some of the natural flowers from the region in front of the waterfall, giving a sense of the waterfall. And what the waterfall does is it gives off little droplets, and the droplets have radon in it. And this is a kind of detox that you can have walking up and down the waterfall. And then most recently in 2017, I was a master teacher at the Art Academy in New Smyrna Beach. And here I took a picture in a coal spring using that in focus, out of focus idea further. And yeah, so this is my most famous picture, second most famous or famous, it's hard to know, but this is Jacuzzi Calistoga Hot Springs. And by then I had really developed this idea of in focus, out of focus, and color as the key element that I wanted to tell my story with. And so this picture was first prize at the Pictures of the Year, where I was awarded it at National Geographic, and Vice President Gore gave me my medal. So that's pretty exciting, but it's also interesting to the spa field because in that time, people had wrapped towels around the head, and that was supposed to be at the sauna and represent the spa. And this broke that circuit really well. Then I had this amazing opportunity to go to Bad Sulza, where Mary Schneider and Klaus Bohm were launching Mickey Raymond's invention of liquid sound. And I had the rare opportunity to experiment with how to talk about underwater light and sound. I used strobe lights, no lights, all kinds of methods. But again, I came back to that idea of the sense of movement and color dominating my picture. So this was so successful that it's still used by this spa to promote the idea of floating in liquid sound. I also add this picture because we're going to be talking about dancing a lot. And this picture is women dancing in the water, but I had them put clothes on so that, there would be some reflection and movement. And that's really important. Well, the next picture we're going to jump to is my film, Healing Waters, that my former assistant, Derek Johnson, moved into the film world and decided to make this feature about me, which we're going to see in a little while. But I insert this here because it's very important that you learn about yourself if you're going to take really arty pictures, ones that delve deep. And so I want to talk about the power of self-portraiture in one's career or one's shooting. So this is my new book. It will be released next month. It's called Sex, Death, and Transcendence, and it covers 50 years of self-portraiture. And I bring this up because knowing yourself and observing yourself is very important to be able to make really beautiful pictures, pictures that reach deep into your psyche, into your evolution. And that's what I did with the self-portrait. So as you know, I started in black and white. And so my first camera was the Rolly camera. And of course, our first idea is when we see ourselves in the mirror, we can make an easy self-portrait. So from there, I took another self-portrait with my next camera, which was the Leica M3. And with this camera, I held my hands out. Now you notice with selfies, you can grab a shot this way or that way, but then you needed to hold the camera way out with a wide angle lens. Anyway, this was one of my important pictures, and it alludes to waters, I suppose, but it had that kitschy edge to it that people really liked. But then as I moved forward, I want to show you how I found my way to make my self-portraits, usually at evocative moments or at moments of trauma or moments when the world spoke to me. And of course, this magenta background spoke to me. And I had my mother's crystals on, and she had passed away. And this meant so much to me, that feeling to be there. It was so powerful. And then this next picture I want to talk about, following this art of taking the picture, is here I am in Beverly Hills, waiting for my 2019 Chelsea Hotel exhibition. And I saw this rainbow on other people's faces. I just moved over and it matched my outfit. I mean, how much, no planning, right? But I wanted that stripe of sunshine over me as I was, embarking to the exciting time of going to an opening or giving a talk. So this is how this work evolved. And here's one more that I think also follows that line of thinking. It's more recent. Well, what I have to say is all my books have a self-portrait in them. And this is my Chelsea Hotel book. And I wanted that on the cover to identify myself with the place I lived for 20 years. And following this style, the Chelsea Hotel, rock and roll, Bob Dylan, Janis Joplin, all kinds of people were there, but you have a kind of visual image of it if you know that kind of thing. And this is what I wanted to create. It's not Bob Dylan, it's not a famous person, but I managed to get that color of that, party time and live it up and be in that scene. So, but in the background is out of focus. So there's this combination of feeling. And then when Jeff McKay came to make a film about my life at the Chelsea Hotel for Edgeland Films, I wanted to show the Gothic staircase. And in order to create this sense of movement, I had learned this style of having people walk in front of me or walk myself towards my tripod. And I have on a dress by Zach Posen, a very famous fashion designer who loaned me the dress for the film. And this is a very well-collected picture here in America. And lastly, this is Ethan Hawke. And you might know him as in his films. He's gone on to do many films. But here I stayed with this idea of the movement in a picture, in a portrait even. And that was part of this art development, because eventually this picture, which somebody would have chose a totally in focus picture of a famous person I had a shot to take pictures of, but I went ahead with this. And then when Abel Ferrara did his film, Chelsea on the Rocks, his designer chose this for the poster of the movie. So, this is the idea of sticking yourself forward. And this is the last picture I think I'm going to show from the Chelsea. It's Suzanne Barsh's room. And it's an interior. It would be a boring interior. Not really. It's kind of fascinating space, right? But adding the person walking through the space just added, again, to giving depth to the picture. Well, the other thing I want to say about this picture, it was shot on 6 megapixels. Yes, but I blew it up to 1.5 meters. So all this talk about 24 megapixels, 60 megapixels, you can be creative with any kind of camera. It's just what you want to do with it, especially your talent in taking the picture. So I want to talk about how big these are. This is from my most recent and largest show in New York City. It was at the Museum of Sex in 2022. It's called Self-Portrait Self-Play. And it's a very exciting picture because in the front is my self-portrait with silver hair. And there's a picture from my orgasm book and my erotic lives book, but about presentation, whether you're giving a picture to your friend or for a gallery, you want to think what size you want to make it. And here, of course, in a gallery, I wanted it to be immersive so people could walk through it and see through it. And so all the pictures were multiplied, and it was very exciting. And that's how it can be when you offer a picture to someone as a friend. Just because you have 11 by 14 printer, please think again about the presentation of the picture. And now I want to move a little bit further here and talk about my Apolda retrospective. And this was organized by Marion Schneider and Klaus Bohm, my biggest collectors in Germany. And Klaus made this blow up from the erotic lives of women. So whether you present one picture or a group of pictures, this is all part of the art of, quote, picture taking. It goes through a cycle. It's not just what you snap. And I'm very excited about this show because it was very immersive. You can see in the background some liquid sound, large blow-ups. This all adds to the added value, you might say, of pictures. And one of the things that I wanted to refer to is the thumbprint of the photographer. So I think I've begun to demonstrate I have a certain style. And that's what I talk about when I teach my classes. You might think of Ansel Adams, his landscapes, their zone systems of many, many variations of black and white. Or you might want to think of August Sander, who had a certain way he made his portraits. And this is something that you, that you can add to your repertoire of shooting, is this certain style. And then this is a black and white, but the original picture is color. It's something I'm very proud of. Marion and I got our book in the New York Times Book Review. This is the highest place you could have. And of course, the picture they picked was a picture with movement and the woman, but you can see every detail of the Moroccan tiles. So it just has that edge to it. And then I'm going to talk about our book Orgasm, which is available in German and English. And here we have Annie Sprinkle. She's been to your country many times. She has done a lot of things with sex work and sex art, especially now eco-sex. So this also picture carries that same style. The main focus was what was her strongest orgasm, something like that, but to find a picture that fills that. And in this work, Marion interviewed the women first, and I heard what their story was, and then I made a picture to interpret it. Well, so coming along to the next part of my program is what kind of pictures did I make with dance photography? And I didn't think it would be totally out of the question to work with Andreas because, first of all, I love yoga. And I did some dance improv, and we met in Bad Sosa and Bad Schandau. We talked to each other. He's in that family of healing. So I thought, I think I can do something. But the reason also was that I had been to Japan a few times and was very attracted by the Buto dancing there. And his dancing is different in the sense that he adds music and he adds social media, things like that. But I also had a great experience being the assistant and modeling for Eiko Hosoi, the greatest of Japanese photographers, who sat with me and showed me his book on a Buto dancer that went into the landscape. And so that gave me also some knowledge. And lastly, I took a 6-month class once a week in Japanese dancing and or a type of walking. And you go heel to toe and you discover everything from your heel to your toe, and it takes forever. And you don't think it's ever going to be over, but it's a meditation, and eventually you can get really good at it. So I felt I was really in good position to take some amazing pictures of Andreas. Here he is with his mudra style, and soon, when I finish, you'll see his interpretations and collaborations, and sort of what led to this talk today. And here we are, a kind of impromptu opportunity came up to work in a swimming pool that we didn't want to look too much like a swimming pool, but had incredible lighting. And so after I sent him the pictures, he interpreted that, and we'll see that in a minute. Then this other thing that's very important to him is mudras. Do you want to say something about that, or at the end?
Yes, maybe. The mudras where we saw first, it's a kind of hand expressions that also activate um, neurological areas that can help to synchronize both hemispheres of our brain and also to increase the sensibility of especially the fingertips and the fingers. In some ways, you could say that our hands are a way to have impact on the neuroplasticity of our brain. And there are, of course, various mudras with certain meanings, teaching and activating certain areas of the energetic body. But here in the water, it's a very good opportunity to form mudras in a freestyle because you are in a different medium, in a different environment, and you can feel there how a mudra is uh, created by itself in some way. And in this sense, you can get a deeper feeling of the water being, as I call it. So really be in touch with this liquidity of water. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so these are some images that I took of him with, emphasizing the color and him approaching these movements with hands. And there's beautiful reflections in the background. This is in Bad Sulza. And this is another image just to show how one can move in the water on one's own or, be a dancer. But you can have these immersive experiences with your camera. And, for a lot of these pictures, just to add, I put myself in the water sometimes and have a human tripod moving me around, but I don't really use underwater cameras. That's not my thing. So I just wanted to give you the sense of what it's like to go make these pictures. Then we decided to have another collaboration, and Andreas showed up in a total body black suit. I mean, we couldn't communicate. Once he got in the water, I was like left on my own. And what do I do here? But I think that we, between sort of pushing him this way and that way in the water and him dancing, that I found some really beautiful pictures. So again, we're circling full back to the art of picture taking, because we're circling back to what I originally showed you with that Dead Sea picture, that color can powerfully bring you forward, but then you have to do something with it. You have to find the central figure. You have to find something that works. And when you just exploded, we got it. Not much else going on there, but that was a really challenging shoot. And then this one I think is really wonderful because it's not only the like stretching out like a something like an animal, I don't know, fish, an animal, it's unusual, but we captured the liquid sound domes expression on the ceiling of slides what they project. So that's a little bit out of focus. So there's a couple layers going on in the picture. And I think that knowledge of the layers of color, this add up to the art of picture taking. It's not just the snap, it's the whole process. So anyway, we're going to go further. The next shoot, he challenged me here with laser light gloves, okay, part of the dance. And so here, I was under pressure the picture seemed to be the dance of light. So you had to catch that. And that's something to keep in mind, when you're photographing dance, a lot of the time you might have your own style, but a lot of times you want to also use a fast shutter speed, and you want to, make sure you capture different aspects. Maybe you want to say something about these at all, these lasers?
I used the dome situation for light painting. Since I had each on my fingers, I had a laser. I can actually visualize some of the mudras, not only in my hands, but also in the dome and play with this. So it's quite an interesting approach to light painting when you have a laser and you have a dome structure where you can paint on. So I really enjoyed this, and yeah, here you can see a few patterns that are woven through some of the mudras in combination with the laser beams on the fingers.
Yeah, so as I said, this was picture A. Now picture B is my interpretation of them. So I had him move his arms around and, work to make a picture. It's not always right in front of you, at least the one you want. I love this picture. His physique looks well positioned. He's just balancing the water. You have these green globules. What is that? I just love this picture. So you see, when you're working, you can have you can have your interpretation, your thumbprint, and then you go outside that. You allow yourself to do other things, but basically having this seeking presentation, this thing that you want, is a real help in taking the picture. Well, I'm going to wind up my talk with how much in healing waters at the different spas. I was fascinated by the movement of water and splashing. So I just want to ask you in the audience, do you remember, in English we call it cannonball, the first time you dove into a swimming pool and you sent a big splash up? Very exciting, isn't it? If you started doing it like every time until your parents told you enough now, right? But the splash, what is the meaning of the splash? I've been so affected by it, either at waterfalls, people kicking at different places, people under the water falling on their shoulders. What is the splash? That's the fluidity of water. That's the ecstasy of water. That's so much. I think this picture is a little bit of that expression. So when Andreas and I continued to try to find some other ways, I wanted to work with the splash with him. And I love this picture. It's like a painting. It's really goes beyond, focus in focus. There's a little bit in focus, but it's just, the color is so beautiful. And the form, you can see it's a dancer. It's just beautiful picture. I'm so glad we were able to collaborate on that picture. And then, oops, here we are. I'm trying to make a picture of the splash, the jump, the feeling. And I'm not adding Photoshop and all kinds of things to my pictures. I'm not going there. So this does express kind of yearning, up to the sky or something. And Andreas liked this picture, and I'm just going to move to my last picture if you want to make a comment. But I think
Transversion, I called it, not immersion. The immersion comes first, and then out of the water medium, the transmersion. That was what I was having as a name for it.
Yes, the birth. The dancer has one interpretation. I mean, we haven't talked a whole lot about embodiment and what all that means. You can say a little bit more about that after I go to the next picture. It's very interesting, your insight on that. This is kind of my quintessential goodbye lecture picture, because I just think it shows the power of the body, the crazy emotion of water, the beauty of water. The colors are great, and I think that it's one of my best pictures, and it's a good place to go on to, because now we're going to look at pictures that Andreas used for his social media to advertise his dance, and he can tell you a little bit more. So this is the first one. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I used one of your pictures, which I called the Mudra Dancer. This is and it was a performance with our cybernetics performance team in the spa in Bad Schandau, and I called it hot flow dance because I like the atmosphere of a tropic atmosphere, because the body is then already so hot already, so warmed up that it is actually a perfect environment without a long warm up to use the heat of the atmosphere to yeah to do the dance. And this was not in the water, that was on land, but as you said, I'm quite often working together with media art and combination out of the real body and the projection. And yeah, since then, this was in February 2020, we had quite a lot of hot flow dance sessions, which is a new approach to a yoga style, often referred to as Bikram yoga, which is a heated yoga studio, or you do a yoga practice even in a sauna, but to use the spa uh, environment and the temperature for the performance. So this was one of the pictures I was using for advertising the cyberkinetics performance. And yeah,
Yeah, let's look at the next one.
yes. And here it was called the intermedia dance play. We always chose with cyberkinetics a different philosophical aspect. And in this performance, the main aspect was to make a transition from land into water. So a kind of dancing way of coming from one medium, the air medium, into the water medium. And we installed for this performance a camera underwater. So when I did the mudra yoga session underwater, because underwater it's a different uh, movement, a different flow is possible. We would uh, record in real time with the underwater camera and project it on a huge screen, so the audience could see what I was doing underwater, and this had a quite a nice flow. So who is interested can go on the Cyberkinetics website, and there the various performances are recorded. And yeah, I love your picture for especially for advertising this performance, because it shows what you can do actually in the water. And yeah, maybe this leads to the aquanautic body. One is the one of your final pictures, um, which actually has the focus on projecting the dancer in the water medium. The phenomenology of the body is a total different when you are in another gravity in the water than when you are on land. And especially for a dancer, this is a totally new environment to some extent. And yeah, to coordinate the movement in the water. I mean, whoever wants to learn Tai Chi, I've practiced Tai Chi for about 30 years. Whoever is interested in this meditative shadow dance, as sometimes it is called, one of the best approaches is to start in the water, because there you are actually already in a kind of, sometimes they talk about the heaven hands. So you just feel your hands like clouds when they are actually rising. And to come in this feeling, it's a very good approach to be in water and play with this different Auftriebe, updrifting that is possible in the water. So again, who is interested in the various performances in the water, outside of the water, can look on the Cyberkinetics website and can see the whole performance. But this one I like very much also from the colors. And I'm an Aquarian from my birth sign. I'm born in February. So this is actually a picture that I can identify as an Aquarian quite profound with. Yeah.
That's good. You know, it's going to be interesting to go forward now, and we're going to see the collaborative multimedia approach that Andreas took for these different shoots that we had together. And of course, what binds us together really is the breakthrough in my career was shooting the waters. And
Yes.
so I'm really pleased to have been invited here. I will stick around. He's going to now show you the collaboration with my photos
Yes.
and the film, and I'll be around. And thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes. Thank you very much, Linda, for your talk and for the insights on the art of taking a picture. And yeah, um, it's now 10 years. It was 2014 when we did our first session, floating on healing waters. And maybe I will start. I made two short films, also with a friend of mine who made the music to the series we made together. And before I come to the dance video, I want to focus on the floating in healing waters because that was, um, how can I put it? I felt that through the pictures come through what I was experiencing while doing the floats. Um, as you know, floating is a very important approach through meditate uh, through meditation for me. And the once you come out of a sauna and your body is quite heated up by the sauna, and you come into the ice cold water, then it's a perfect situation because the body is so awake on the one hand side, also the tendencies, the muscles are so warmed up that you just not only can float, but you can fly the float. You can use this zero gravity situation to actually fly. And this is what I am enjoying a lot. And since I can stop breathing for about a minute, I can choose this 60 seconds or 90 seconds, something like this, to really come down, calm, and then fly this various gestures, you can say. Yeah, so maybe we look first at the video that I called Floating in Healing Waters, and it took place in Bad Sulza in the spa, and it revolves the whole aspects of floating revolves around the idea of healing waters. So as you know, I'm quite keen on Sebastian Kneipp and his heat hydrotherapy. So there is a big healing power in water. And this can be used, for example, through dance in the water, but also through floating. So I will show this short movie from 2014 called Floating in Healing Waters. So, yeah, this was the first video, and just seeing it, since I think you know that I'm also parachuting and skydiving, and this is a very good way of getting a similar feeling of flying. Even you don't jump out of an airplane, but through floating, um, it's a quite interesting when one has an access to the phenomenology of the body, to try out the various angles that you can actually go in and fly in some way. So yeah, this would be 10 years ago. And the second one was in Bad Schandau, on dancing. And also there, I felt that your pictures represent quite well the experience that I had during dancing. So um, let's have a look at this. Yeah, so that was the two videos I had also made once, the Merman, where there was a combination out of dancing in the water and the floating. But I like the two different atmospheres, especially those ones in the water. I, um, yeah, looking at them, I already come inside the feeling again, and I just want to go and dive in again. Um, yeah, I think water is, as Kneipp said it, a very important means of healing in various ways. And um, in Bachandao, especially, we are on the way of creating a new hydroculture, a new balneo culture. And your pictures are actually transporting what is in another way just only um sensible and when you are in the water. But with these pictures, you have actually a bridge from a photographic art to the actual experience of being in water. So this is, I think, very precious when this happens and the pictures reflect the experience. So yes, thank you again, Linda, for your talk and especially also for your pictures. And I'm looking forward to future shootings together. And now we will tune in the Healing Waters film. So the audience will get to know you also in during the last years and all your works. And I think the film goes about 80 minutes. And afterwards, I will open the Zoom again. So if people from the audience have questions, we can tune in again. And but because of the quality is better when I don't stream the film at the same time, and you know it, so I will close the Zoom for the next 80 minutes, and then hopefully we'll see again in the Zoom. But for the moment, again, thank you very much, Linda, and see you later.